Welcome back to the Exemplary Marketing YouTube channel. Why do people think that web development is dying? The question might seem a bit overwrought, but there are good reasons for people to ask this question. One reason is that getting a website has never been easier or cheaper. Think about it. If you want to create a content site, it doesn't take much to set one up with WordPress. You barely need to be technically literate, let alone a developer. Similarly, if you want an e-commerce store, there are plenty of options and off-the-shelf solutions that allow people to start running an online business with very little work at all. Even if you do want a custom solution, you can now do that pretty cheaply. Businesses can now purchase a website for less than €100 or $135. Web development is getting easier. When people say web development is dying, they might be saying that there isn't as much money in it anymore. If freelancers are struggling to charge the rates that they used to, that's because there is someone out there who's now going to be doing it for a lot less money. The reason for this isn't that there's a new generation of web developers able to subsist on a paltry sum of money. It's getting a lot easier. Aside from solutions like WordPress and Shopify, the task of building websites from scratch, sort of scratch, is now easier than it has ever been. Are templates killing web development? Templates make everything easier for web developers and designers. Why would you want to do much more than drag and drop templates if you could? If the result looks good and does the job, then why spend time doing more? The more you do yourself, the more you're likely to break things. And the more you break things, the more you've got to fix. Of course, templates are lowering the barrier to entry into web development and design. And while we shouldn't be precious about new web developers entering the industry, it is understandable that many experienced web developers are anxious about what the future might hold. From this perspective, templates aren't killing web development, but they are changing what the profession looks like. And without wishing to sound euphemistic, this is both a challenge and an opportunity for everyone in web development. Whether you're experienced or new to the industry, these changes mean that people are going to have to adapt. Web development isn't dying, it's fragmenting. The way web developers are going to have to adapt is by choosing what path they want to take in their careers. Web development, as we've always known it, is perhaps well and truly dead. Instead, it's fragmenting into specialized areas, design on the one hand and full stack on the other. This means that your skill set needs to be unique. In a world where building websites takes very little skill or technical knowledge, specific expertise is vital. This is something that journalist Andrew Pierno noted in a blog post on Medium. Pierno writes, "We are in a scenario where the web developer no longer has the skill set to build that interesting differentiator anymore, particularly if the main value prop is around AI, computer vision, machine learning, AR, VR, blockchain, etc. Building websites is no longer remarkable. As we've seen, people can do it everywhere. But building a native application, that's not quite so easy. Building a mobile app that uses computer vision to compare you to Renaissance paintings, that's even harder to do. These are the sorts of things that are going to be valuable, and these are the sorts of things that web developers are going to need to learn how to do. Full stack development and the expansion of the developer skill set. In his piece, Pierno argues that the scope of the web developer's role is shrinking. However, I don't think that's quite right. Yes, it might be fragmenting, but the scope of it, say full stack development, is huge. Full stack developers need to know a huge range of technologies and tools. If they're to differentiate themselves in the job market, as Pierno suggests that they should, they need to know machine learning. They need to know mobile, databases, and maybe even blockchain. From this perspective, it's not hard to see how the web part of web development might be dying. To some extent, as the web becomes more ubiquitous and less of a rarefied space in people's lives, the more we have to get into the detail of how we utilize the technologies around it. Web development's decline is design's gain. If web development as a discipline is dying, that's only going to make design more important. If, as we saw earlier, building websites is going to become a free-for-all for just about anyone with an internet connection and enough confidence, then standards and quality might start to slip. That means that the value of somebody who does understand good design is going to be higher than ever. As a web developer, you might disappear into the ether of everyone else out there. But if you market yourself as a designer, someone who understands the intricacies of UI and UX implicitly, you immediately start to look a little bit different. Think of it like a sandwich shop. Anyone can start making sandwiches. But to make a great sandwich shop, the type that wins awards and the type that people want to Instagram, requires extra attention to detail. It demands more skill and more culinary awareness. Maybe web development is dying, but maybe it just needs to change. What we call web development is very different in 2018 than what it was 5 years ago. There are a huge number of reasons for this, but perhaps the most important is that it doesn't make sense to talk about the web anymore, because the web is now an outdated concept. Perhaps web development needs to die. Maybe we're holding on to something which is only going to play into the hands of poor design and poor quality software. It might even damage the careers of talented engineers and designers. You could make a pretty good comparison between the web and big data. Even reading those words feels oddly outdated today, but they're still at the center of the tech landscape. Big data, for example, is everywhere. It's hard to imagine our lives outside of it, but it doesn't make sense to talk about it in the abstract. Instead, what's interesting is how it's applied, how engineers make data accessible, usable, and secure. The same is true of the web. It's not dead, but it has certainly assumed a slightly different form. And web development might well be dying, but the world will always need developers and designers. It's simply time to adapt. So that concludes our video for today. Let us know your opinion down in the comments section below. As always, hit that like button if you like this video. Thanks for watching and subscribe for more.